Hello everyone and happy holidays. Welcome to the Porn in the Valley meets Porn News Today annual Porn News Wrap-Up. My name is Alexandra, formerly known as Monica Foster, and today I have a very special treat for many of you. Joining me via Skype is my very good longtime friend, Diana, formerly known as Desi Foxx.
Well, hey, how you doing? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. For those of you who are not aware, today is, well, it's technically the day after Christmas now. It is 12:01. But here we are with our annual Porn in the Valley, Porn News Today wrap-up, and there have been so many crazy things that happened in the porn news sphere, hasn't there?
Oh, everywhere. It's been a crazy year and a good year. You know, I sent you a link just the other day, the Slate article saying 2014 was the year of outrage.
Yes.
And I thought that was a good title for this year, and it made me think back to the beginning of the year. My wish was that everyone would get a cause and go fight for it, you know, spend some time fighting for what's important. And if you look at the year and you look at their article, I think that you see that we did. We all had a voice and we made change this year. There was a lot of changes. So excited to be here and talking about it.
Yeah, well, there was a tremendous amount of change this year within the porn news sphere. You know, I mean, really, let's go ahead and start back at the beginning in January. Now, a woman who's an acquaintance of both ours, Crystal Cox, she wound up winning protection for independent investigative bloggers. That was pretty exciting. That was right at the beginning of the year.
Very exciting, definitely. It set a precedence that we're all protected under the law to be able to expose things going on and to be able to talk about them and not be bullied, which we get into that next. The bully of this case.
Yes, the bully. Well, actually, Crystal Cox's most vocal adversary, Randazza Legal Group.
Right.
Yes. Randazza Legal Group opposed or has opposed Crystal Cox in regards to many legal matters that she's contending with right now. And we have both been brought in to the situation.
Well, and that's, you know, the whole thing is basically the three of us are linked because of Mark Randazza.
Yes.
And that's the only link that we really have. That's how we met Crystal. And, you know, it goes back to her investigating the bankruptcy system and fraud going on, which, you know, as people that followed my lawsuit against AIM saw, they went into bankruptcy and the trustee actually destroyed my evidence in an ongoing lawsuit. So I was very interested in what she had to say, but you were actually the one that introduced me to her because of what you
came across her through adultfyi.com back when Gene Ross was running the site, and there was basically just a blurb of an article that was put up about Crystal. But I thought it was very biased, and I was like, let me see who's Crystal Cox. Let's see who this is. So I found her websites, her blogs, and everything. And what I noticed about her adversary, Randazza Legal Group, is that they were advertising themselves or being written about as being a freedom of speech law firm, when in actuality, they're porn attorneys. They are pornographic industry attorneys who protect pedophiles. And that's something that mainstream media doesn't seem to want to touch on, such as CNN, Forbes.com.
They don't want to talk about it. And, you know, I mean, also what linked Mark Randazza to our situation was when, and I don't remember the first name, I'm sure you will, but McAvoy.
James Malcolm McAvoy.
Yeah.
Or wasn't that, no, J Malcolm, I think J Malcolm DeVoy.
That's what it was. Thank you. I'm sorry. But yes, he was linked to our stalkers, and so you know, when you start looking at the whole picture, you've got corruption in the courts. You've got, you know, evidence being manipulated and destroyed. And then you've got stalkers over here who are trying to shut us up. You know, we're activists, we're whistleblowers, and nobody seems to want to talk about any of this. The media does not want to touch any of it. Right.
Not at all. Not at all. In regards to the lawsuit that I'm contending with, that's directly filed by Randazza Legal Group, they attempted to put a virtual gag order on me via a restraining order, which does not state that I cannot talk about Randazza Legal Group or the attorneys such as Teresa M. Hare or J. Malcolm DuBois, who are employed by Randazza Legal Group. So,
right.
Yes. Anyways, so anyway, for Crystal to attain the same rights for independent bloggers and investigative bloggers as traditional journalists, that was a huge step in the right direction. That was awesome. If you want to read about that, make sure you all go to porninthevalley.com or pornnewstoday.com. We have it all linked up. Just search Crystal Cox. But that was a huge win. That was huge.
Well, and as you said, you know, the First Amendment, you know, Mark Randazza wants to talk about himself as a First Amendment attorney. And yet here he is, we're three women who he's tried to infringe on our First Amendment rights as investigative bloggers to shut us up so that we don't talk about the porn industry, which is what you and I were talking about. So, you know, if Mark's not a porn attorney, then what does he care what we talk about when it's got to do with the porn industry?
Well, he's definitely a porn attorney. I mean, there's no doubt that he's a porn attorney. You know, I mean, from as far as I can research, he's been working with the Free Speech Coalition since 2005. And, you know, when I uncovered that the Free Speech Coalition was in cahoots with that internationally known convicted pedophile, August Kurt Bracco, a.k.a. Kurt Treptow, he was at the luncheon with the pedophile.
Yeah.
Where they were meeting with the Libertarian Party of Nevada? Wasn't that what it was? Yeah. Yeah, so...
Yeah. Moving into politics, and you know, I mean, that's something that we've seen all over the place, and you know, we're not going to make this a political show, but you know, the fact is that's a pedophile that's in the political arena in Nevada, and Mark Randazza and the Free Speech Coalition are directly connected with this. I mean, it's all over. They even wrote about it, so you know, public knowledge.
Now, I guess first we can talk about Miley Cyrus on the NBC New Year's show.
Yeah, Rockin' Eve. I mean, you know, this was a Dick Clark, you know, tradition. I grew up with it. You know, my followers, most of you know, I'm 54 years old. So, you know, this is a long-time tradition. And, you know, Miley is an X-rated show now. You know, she's a porn star.
Yeah, well, I mean, just in May at her show, she had a giant inflatable penis. We couldn't find it in America, but in Canada, she was doing that show. And where was other places? The UK.
In London. Yeah. London. She's playing in nightclubs, so, you know, her act has definitely gone down. She's not doing the concert venue, you know, she's doing nightclubs because she's X-rated. I mean, you know, she would fit in Vegas there. You know, they have the after midnight shows.
Well, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if this is where she wound up ending up in Las Vegas.
Right.
But another important thing happened. Now, Congress was set to launch a probe into escort and prostitution services on Twitter.
Yes, yeah, and I'm wondering where that's at because I haven't seen anything in the news on that. And I mean, you know, that's how we get a lot of our news, is just following all the porn stars. They just can't seem to help themselves, and it's all out there in the public. I mean, all you have to do is look.
That's right. I mean, you know, the one escort agency that both you and I have been consistently perplexed about, the Luxury Companion.
Right.
They're on Twitter.
I know.
So it's like Congress, where is this probe? You don't seem to be probing the Luxury Companion, and why is that?
And I'm telling you, I mean, it's a cheap investigation, you know. You just go online, you know, and take a few hours, and you'll get a wealth of information. I mean, you know, we have seen other countries using Twitter to block porn stars from coming in who are, you know, doing prostitution and escorting on the side. You know, it's illegal. That's international. You know, it's the Man's Act, and I mean, there's so many different things that they're, you know, breaking laws on when it comes to international prostitution and sex work. You can't do it. It's illegal. So, and that goes into, you know, we saw this year, just recently, I'm kind of skipping ahead here a little bit, but just recently, talking about trafficking. Human trafficking is not a priority at our borders. I mean, our government has come right out and said that.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's sad. That's real sad. So, you know, you see the porn stars going back and forth. They tweet about it. We know what's going on, but if it's not a priority, you know, we need to get their attention. We need to let them know passing girls across borders is not okay.
It's not acceptable, and I want anyone out there who's a parent to realize that it's not just girls coming into America from overseas, it's American girls getting shipped out overseas, and a lot of them don't come back.
No.
So that's something I want the audience to, you know, keep in mind, because it is a lot of what the work that we do is about protecting America's daughters.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Yes, it's not just, you know, girls being trafficked in, it's girls being trafficked out. I believe that American young women are one of our country's greatest commodities, and we're being sold.
Exactly. Well, and I mean, you know, that's how I got started here, you know, is it was my daughter, and I got my daughter out, and now I work to try and get all the other ones out and keep everybody's daughters from going in. I know what they do. So, you know, I was there, you were there. We know what they did. We know what they still do.
And everybody, if you do want to learn about Diana's story in depth, please do visit porninthevalley.com and also desisdesires.com. And I'll put the URLs up because her story is quite compelling. It's true. I was there for a portion of it.
And a good portion of it, and it's time for people to know the truth of where Diana is coming from. But anyway, let's go to February. So in February, Kink was fined $78,000. Let's talk about that, because that relates later to what we'll talk about the UK. But yeah, they were fined.
For the Cameron Bay HIV case, there was actually, I think, 2 cases that came out of that at that time.
Yeah, her and her guy, Rod Daly. Yeah. Yes. And they're still denying that. The Free Speech Coalition is still denying that that was an on-set transmission.
They've denied all the cases. I mean, there's been 25 plus cases. I've lost track of them all. There, you know, I know there's close to 30 of them now. Confirmed cases. They don't say it happened on their set. You know, they all want to say it's in personal lives. But, you know, the truth is they all do these things in their personal lives. And then they're all on set with each other, and they're not protecting themselves or each other.
Right.
And so it's going to happen whether it came from outside or came from inside. It's going to be inside because everybody's outside at some point. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah. Now, that wasn't all that happened in February. Let's talk about Farrah Abraham, teen mom.
She came out into the public, and, you know, it amazes me that she's still, you know, I'll say dancing the dance of death with the porn industry, because she's scheduled to be at AVN just in a couple weeks. But she reported that she was drugged and raped while she was associating with the porn industry. I think she said that it happened when she was on the tour circuit, the convention circuit with them.
Right, and you got to remember, you know, she shot the big scene with James Dean.
Yeah.
So you know what group that is, and you know, it's prevalent throughout the industry to be drugged. Raped is not unusual.
Happened to me.
Yeah, I've got two videos that I know are being sold that I was raped on sets, and one that my book that I just released the chapter in. That one, I don't think it was released. I think it went into private collection somewhere. But that's three sets that I was on that I was raped, and they didn't quit filming. So it happens every day.
Yeah, and I really don't like the way that Steve Hirsch pretty much bullied her in the press.
Right.
To keep her mouth shut. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, bringing a lawsuit against her.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're whistleblowers. When somebody speaks out, this is what happens to them.
Yeah, well, it is. Well, speaking of lawsuits, again, and I think I told you about this, T-Real of Ideal Image Management threatened to sue me because a woman came to me, we'll call her Victim L.
Yes.
Yes. I wasn't the only one who covered this. Mike South, he covered it as well over on his website, mikesouth.com. And this girl was telling me how he was trying to withhold money from her. Just all kinds of very unprofessional behavior that he engaged in. And according to her, she was saying that he's a pimp.
Well, and we know that's prevalent too. That they escort the girls on the side. That's where the real money is. The porn industry is a legal industry that they launder illegal activities through, and the illegal activities is sex trafficking and escorting. It's blatant, it's out there, and it's happening every day there. So
it is. It is. Now March was when Steve Hirsch decided to go forward and do this whole media frenzy against Farrah Abraham, basically to shut her up. And it really was heartbreaking. I actually have the video clip posted on one of my sites, I think pornstarhookeralert.com, where she was on the some sort of celebrity rehab show. It's supposed to be for married people or dating, but she was on there by herself. And the doctor on the show, you could tell that girl wasn't lying.
Right.
Something really happened to her. But, I do feel like Steve Hirsch got his later on in the year, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But, But also in March was when Randazza Legal Group decided to come after you directly.
Right. Well, that was when they went after our GoDaddy accounts, and I got an email from GoDaddy saying that I had 3 days to respond through a court, or they were going to release my billing address and other personal information from my internet account, from my hosting and domain accounts. And, 3 days. It was out of Miami court. I'm in Tampa. So, 3 days to figure out what I'm going to do. I couldn't do it. And the point is we already know Randazza has our addresses. He's had them for some time. So this was just sheer intimidation. And
we know that he is openly affiliated with our stalkers. Our stalkers constantly promote Randazza Legal Group. It's just consistent.
Yeah.
And one of our stalkers in particular, he has assault and battery charges against him right now, and he's been pimping his wife.
Well,
so it's weird. The whole thing is crazy.
They all have criminal backgrounds. There's domestic violence, there's assault. It all has to do with violence, and these men stalk us regularly. Randazza subpoenaed and received our home addresses. To where he turned around and they were posting things right afterward about our homes and photos of Monica's home and where she went, so we know they were physically stalking her. And nobody does anything about it, and the courts actually allow this stuff to happen.
Well, a lot of it's on my court record right now with my court case, and my court case actually has not moved forward since the end of September. So we'll keep you updated on that one. But so let's see. Well, also in March, and you added this, that faith-based movies became popular.
Yeah, Christians are fighting back. I love it, you know. I mean,
Team Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Team Jesus Christ. And I always just say I love that one song, you know, I am a Jesus freak. So, you know, and that's, hey, you know, he's been there for me. He's the only one who listened when nobody else did. And, you know, I've written about this. I went to all the government leaders. I've gone to you know, all the heads of media, and nobody listened, but Jesus did. So that's why I fight now, is because I know he's backing me. He's backs this fight. Yeah.
And you can't beat Jesus Christ. It's just not doable. So, you know,
no,
you Satanists out there, don't try.
That's
Merry
right.
Christmas.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good thing, you know. I mean, the movies, Hollywood, you know, there are people in Hollywood that are good. They're trying to come, you know, push forward, and we need a lot more light in this world.
Yes, we do. All right, now April was a pretty big month in 2014 in the porn news sphere.
Yeah, definitely.
First, let's talk about Tiffany Fox. Tiffany Fox, very young, beautiful young girl porn star, and she came out publicly in regards to Derek Hay of LA Direct Models, saying that she was sex trafficked.
Right, and I mean, you know, we're starting to add up the victims for the year if you look at it, and the list is not done. So, but Tiffany Fox, she came out, she talked about it. She was, you know, it definitely fits the criteria of sex trafficking.
Yeah.
Over the years that we've been covering this, I think I've been doing this over 6 years now, and you've been doing it over 4.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, since we've been doing this, there's at least close to a dozen victims that we've identified. And
yes.
The police, they don't do anything about it. Nobody does anything.
No, they turn the other way, and we're really starting to see exactly why and who's involved in the closing of the eyes or turning a blind eye as time goes on.
But if anyone wants to watch the interview with Tiffany Fox, you can find that on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Monica@home. It's an extensive interview. Her story was horrific in regards to everything that happened to her. But as of current, just so that many know, from what I'm aware of, she's doing well. She's moving forward in her life away from adult entertainment. Not completely, but she is, you know, moving forward. She's young enough to where she can rebuild her life in a much more positive direction.
Yes.
So,
that's wonderful. Wonderful news. Yes.
Now, AB 1576, that was a hot issue in the porn news.
Yeah, you go ahead and talk more about that, because I know you follow it closely, and with Isidore Hall. Go ahead and fill us all in on what's going on with that and what happened.
All right, now AB 1576. Now that did die in the Appropriations Committee, that particular bill, but it doesn't really matter because Measure B is intact, which is you know, really something that's going to set precedents for, you know, the condom legislation nationwide. For those of you who are not familiar with AB 1576 or Measure B, we're not talking in code. These are actual bills that have...
I know you say it better than I could.
These are actual bills that have been proposed by, well, now he's a senator, which is just great. We'll talk about that a little bit later too. But at the time, he was a California assemblyman by the name of Isidore Hall. He was working in conjunction with the AHF, the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, wonderful people, to propose health and safety legislation for the porn performers, basically to have to use barrier protection, condoms, within adult scenes. Which, you know, a lot of the porn stars are like, oh no, I don't want to do that. You know, the only ones who are saying that they don't want to do that are the ones who are being paid off by the Free Speech Coalition. In actuality, I would say 90% of the performers do want to use barrier protection because of what we were talking about before. You don't know what your peers in that industry are doing in their private lives. And that one little piece of latex can mean whether you live in the next 6 months or you die. So
that's the truth. Yeah, that's the truth. It's the bottom line of it, and it's a business. You know, what you do in your personal life, you know, again, they go out and do things in their personal life, and if they don't wear a condom, that's their business. You know, it's maybe a dumb decision, but it's still their decision. But, you know, you're at work. And when you go to work in the United States, you're supposed to be protected.
Yes.
And that's what that's all about.
Yes, and I like the way that Isidore Hall did put it. He said that the producers should not be putting profits above the health, safety, and well-being of performers, and that's correct. So even though AB 1576 did wind up dying in the Appropriations Committee, Measure B wound up being written into law, and even though Steve Hirsch of Vivid challenged it, I guess I do have to skip ahead, in December, it was ruled, you know, he was saying, oh, it's not constitutional. It's not constitutional. Well, it is constitutional, Steve Hirsch.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, as I said, go figure, you know, we found out it's constitutional to protect your workers. They don't want to, but that's what our Constitution is about.
Yeah, and that's why it really doesn't make sense for the porn companies to try to run away from Los Angeles, because now that Measure B is constitutional. I'm pretty sure that other locales where pornographers are known to be relocating to will be implementing similar legislation to Measure B. And I'm sure that the AIDS Healthcare Foundation will be leading the way. Michael Weinstein charging forward.
Oh, he's already filed a complaint with OSHA in Vegas, since they are in Vegas, which, you know, I don't know, we can talk about that a little bit, where after Kink got fined the $78,000 for not protecting their workers and providing an unsafe workplace, they ran to Vegas, which is where Derek Hay went last year.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they've set up shop there. And Vegas, I mean, they have legal brothels. And in the legal brothels, they test weekly and they wear condoms. So, you know, I don't know why they think in Vegas, except for doing it illegally.
Right.
That's the only way they can do it, is to get away with it.
That's right, and the same thing goes for the porn agency attached escort rings. They have their girls out here now, and really when you think about it, I would think that Dennis Hoff at the Bunny Ranch would be pretty upset, because that is direct competition to his legal brothel system. All these luxury companion escort rings, you know, my platinum provider. You know, if you all want to know a current list of the current porn star prostitution agencies, just go to pornstarhookeralert.com. I probably need to update that with a 2014 roundup list
when I think about it, but you know, maybe I'll do it in January. That's a lot of work.
And then you have the situation of, you have Johns who are going to the illegal prostitutes who aren't wearing condoms and having unprotected sex, and then going to the brothel.
True, that's true. That's very true.
They're having protected sex with the brothel workers, but it's still that increased risk, because, you know, you're doing something on the side that's risky. And, you know, that's where, you know, we get into when you have spouses that cheat and, you know, different things like that, it puts them at high risk.
Well, that's another huge problem about the porn industry coming to Las Vegas, because, you know, this is a hub, this is like such a transient area, to where, you know, one porn industry HIV breakout, and then it could easily turn into a national HIV epidemic. I mean, already on a national scale, HIV is just running wild. But still, I mean, with this situation, it's dangerous. I really feel that Randazza Legal Group really opened up the gates to hell by bringing the porn industry here, because it is Randazza Legal Group that is the central key element to transporting or transitioning Los Angeles porn to Las Vegas.
That's true. That is true. I mean, he's there. He's championed, you know, the whole move the entire time. And, you know, it's just, I mean, Vegas has enough things on their plate.
Then to have to contend with the porn industry. I mean,
right.
And it's already been pretty much established what Las Vegas is by the founders of Las Vegas.
Right.
And that's why you do have the legal brothel system. And actually, speaking of HIV,
that's something else that happened in April. Michael Lucas, who's basically the king of gay porn, he's like gay porn's, I don't know, Jesse Jane in a way. But he announced that he will be shooting bareback HIV positive porn scenes with no condoms.
And we've talked about that. It's the straight porn. The problem with the straight porn is they don't want to admit their situation. They don't want to admit, the downfalls and do something to make it better. And I mean, if you're HIV positive and you're going to have sex with another HIV positive and you're open, which, a lot of people in the gay community are open about their HIV status.
Right.
In the straight world, there's a lot of stigma still to it.
Right.
But amongst, the gay community, that's how it should be. I mean, if you are HIV positive, why not work with another HIV positive performer?
Right.
Why not make this an industry standard?
Well, here's the reason. Here's something our viewers might not understand about why we're talking about the gay arena of porn. The crossover element. That's something that the straight porn industry does not want to openly acknowledge or admit to or act like it's a big deal. You have many male performers who work on both the gay side of the industry and the straight side of the industry. So, think about it. You could have a gay or a crossover performer work a gay HIV positive bareback scene one day for some reason, and then maybe he's not HIV positive, but he was told that because his scene partner was on the HIV suppressant drugs and his viral load was super low, there was almost no risk. But you never know, there just might be that 1% chance that he contracted HIV that day, and then the next day he goes and works with a brand new girl from the Midwest who's 19 years old in her very first porn shoot. So that's the real danger, and that's why the condoms need to be mandatory. And I mean, really, people shouldn't be complaining about condoms at all, considering that when you really think about how dangerous porn is, a lot of people would just go ahead and shut the door on the entire thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, the reality is it's not a legal industry anyway. We've given them a legal status, but they do nothing legal. So, and most of them they're not even American citizens. We're letting in foreigners to come in and rape our daughters, but going back to the gay thing too, and it's not even a matter, a lot of the guys that work in straight porn may not work in gay porn too, but they're gay in their personal life. I mean, a lot of the guys that pretend to be straight in straight porn are at least bisexual, if not truly gay, and just they're straight for pay. Nobody talks about that.
That's true. No one does talk about that. No one does. So let's go ahead and go to May now. Gosh, we're not even halfway through the year. Not even.
I know.
Okay, now in May, let's see. The pickup artist industry, I guess we can start with that. The pickup artist industry was pretty much thrown into the limelight by that Santa Barbara shooter.
Right,
Elliot Rodger, wasn't that his name?
Yes, yeah, and I mean, there was a whole lot about that they never really talked about. First of all, we talked about this just recently when we were going over this, is the fact that, he was Asian and Jewish, but they were talking about him as he was, white. So, I mean, that was one thing. In his manifesto, he talked about looking at porn and, and sexual experimentation, at the age of, I don't remember exactly, but it was, 12, 13 years old. And, we've talked about, and there's so much, research out there about porn addiction. and our youth. And this is the average age for viewing pornography is 11 years old for the first time. And that's a scary thing when you look at, these type of things are what mold these young men's sexuality.
And that pickup artist industry is very closely intertwined with the porn industry, as are the dating websites. But that pickup artist industry, that's very dangerous because of the psychological manipulation techniques that they do, that they're teaching young men on a grand scale, to where they're basically teaching young men to view women as video games.
Right. They're almost like profiling.
Well, they are. Yes, they are profiling. Yeah. You're right. That's a really good analogy.
Yeah, because, remember that car date interview that I did with that guy who was saying that, and it turned out that the girls who were on that movie were, who was that, Victoria White, and can't think of the other girl, starts with a C, but they were two porn stars who I felt were very exploited in that movie.
Right. Well, and I mean, it really showed a lot of how they have turned it into a game. Mm-hmm. And, it's all about scoring. Yeah. So there's no relationship to it anymore. And it's all about taking advantage of the other sex. And, I don't put all the blame on men. Women have their own issues today that are causing a lot of relationship problems. But, I've said this before, as men, you don't want to listen to these guys. These guys are the trolls of the earth,
And they hate women. They really do.
And they hate women. They're very misogynistic, and we're just targets to them. Mm-hmm. And and as we saw, kind of skipping ahead again, we saw that Australia started it, and then other countries followed suit. He's getting his visas canceled. He got thrown out of countries, and nobody wants him. And he's whining, "Oh, I'm the most hated man in the world." It's like,
well, you did it to yourself,
Yeah, I know. Big surprise. Uh-huh. It is what it is, and you're not welcome. We don't need that in our world. We need for everybody to love and work together. And, relationships are just kind of skipping ahead, adding to our timeline here. But there's just a study that came out that said, the younger men are when they view pornography, the less apt they are to get married. And
I
that's
saw that.
Sad.
Yeah. And it's I think it's true. It is sad. It's sad. And
really, to me, the saddest part is that you have all these basically disenfranchised women to where they really don't have anyone that they can even viably date, because and I think that something's wrong with them. And women out there, nothing's wrong with you. It's not you. It really is them. It really is. It really, because rather than guys going out and socializing normally, and I can attest to this because I still am a live webcam model. They don't go out. Instead, they get in bed with their little laptop or tablet, and then they decide to talk to me. Mm-hmm. Or my other cam girl peers. And I know a lot of you cam girls out there are going to be like, "Oh, shut up, Monica. Don't ruin it." But no, seriously. I'm not ruining it. There's always going to be guys who log in. But to you young men out there, get out, turn off the computer, get out the house.
Get in the real world. Yeah, get in the real world and get attached to people, and, and talk to people, and because we're losing our social skills. I mean, it's really bad. And I talk to young women all the time, and they want families, they want, and truthfully, I talk to a lot of young men, and they want the same thing, but there's that disconnect and the computer and the internet has become, you know, like a brick wall in the middle.
Yeah.
And there's just, we need to break the brick wall, and you know, if that means breaking all this crap, then that's what we do.
Yes,
you know,
and real women are not the image that porn creates, men.
We're so much better. We're so much better.
Yeah.
The image that porn creates, actually, that's not a image that I believe has been created by straight men, just so you guys know. It's gay guys telling you what you should like. Think about that.
That's true. I mean, and it's not all gay guys are like this either, but you know, there's gay guys that hate women. I mean, you know, we a little bit of the Sony hack thing, you know, if you you know, you look at all the shows they own and what they've done, you know, to women on TV, on all their shows. You know, you go back to that and the Housewives and all of that. This is all stuff that's made to make people hate women.
Well, actually, let's talk about the Hollywood crazy sex rings now. Because I think we're seeing a little bit of the surface of that with the Bill Cosby situation. But I'll let you expand on the Hollywood sex rings.
Well, I mean, we've had several stars this year. Bryan Singer from the X-Men, big director, award winner. You know, we always hear about these award winners. Was accused of molesting a 15-year-old, and a bunch of other victims have come forward. So that's ongoing. More just came out recently. We all watched as James Franco, and he's a thorn in my side, I can tell you for sure. But we watched as James Franco solicited an underage girl, and when she explained to him she was underage and that she was in New York for her 18th birthday with her parents and could not meet him, he persisted. And, you know, the guy's almost 40, and, you know, he filmed The Spring Breakers, and, you know, now he's all involved. He's in this movie, the Interview, that's caused all these problems. And, you know, he's a middle-aged man, approaching middle age.
He is middle-aged. He's not young.
Yeah. And he's acting like he's you know, trying to act like he's a teenager and play these games. And, you know, right now he's got our whole country in trouble.
Yeah, he does.
So,
he does.
What do you think of that, you know?
Well, you know, I guess his female counterpart, when you really think about it, would be Sofia Vergera.
Vergera, yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about her a little bit, because that's another one of your top problems for 2014.
Yeah, I mean, in 2014 she comes out and says, you know, oh, well, there's nothing wrong if you have the money to buy sex. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, I'm here to say, yeah, there is.
Yeah, she's on that show, Modern Family.
Modern Family, and it's like, what? You know, I'm sorry, but maybe that is what they want for our Modern Family, is to, you know, be pimping everybody. But no, it's not okay to buy sex. It's not okay to rent human beings' body parts. And, you know, I started a campaign to get her off the TV and out of family products. You know I haven't seen a Rooms to Go commercial in forever, and thank you, Rooms to Go. I appreciate that a lot. And but Head and Shoulders, you know, they took over, and I won't buy it.
I think that her success really came from that rich boyfriend of hers, and we identified him pretty quick. And then she was spotted with who was it? Chris Christie.
Oh yeah.
At the White House or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's like, what is she doing at the White House Correspondents' Dinner? She's not a correspondent. She's a movie star who's, you know, pimping prostitution as being a cool thing.
She's basically a luxury companion.
Yeah, you know. And she told in her interview, she said that she had never bought sex, but she never said she was never paid for sex. So, you know, it does make you wonder. But yeah, she's, you know, Modern Family, and, you know, I mean, she doesn't need to be in the White House. She doesn't need to be anywhere talking to anybody about any family, because that's not the type of families we need here in America.
Now let's go ahead and move on to June now. Now, there was a study put out to where they did actually find that porn does shrink your brain. And that smaller brains tend to crave porn. Yes.